Chapter 2 Kingdom Selah. Bump, bump, bumping came in sound. Eyes fluttered open, but the filtering of light could only be found. She felt the soft sheets beneath. Her vessel was an object to God, one to him she thought she would bequeath. Eyes felt hard to adjust, like those of locusts, before scenery popped into a focus. The last eye studied the area, worried in sound, to the point to where an explanation could not be found. This place, a wagon filled with sheets of care. She searched for a desert heat and sand, yet none was there. Priscilla Ardella was the one to whom the last eyes belonged, for she wondered if she received the rescue her body longed. She sat up, looking around, noticing this was a wagon made of wood. Moreover, the sheet covers lifted, revealing goods. Her eyes would glisten, as well as her ears had taken listen. The air was musty from the wool sheets where she sat seated. She started to move, but her body sat depleted. The heat stood to be unbearable, but somehow she remained hydrated. Due to the bumps in the road, she often wondered if she were still near the cottage, or if she traversed beyond it. A musty dust filled her nose, giving it a tickle, forcing a high-pitched sneeze. Her nose wrinkled. She brushed back her long red hair and rubbed a hand across her shoulder that felt blanketed in warmth. She thought, how did I end up here? Wherever here is. The last thing I remember was running toward a village trying to save those people from the Red Moon. The Red Moon. Her tormentor throughout history. It followed her throughout, warping the average man's perception, causing them to go mad. All except her, as Priscilla had developed an immunity. But at times, it would make her feel gloomy and sad on the inside. The demon star tainted her innocent dreams with dark, shapeless apparitions, their eyes hollow as an old willow tree and just as empty. She tried to fight back in her sleep, which translated to her tossing and turning in her sleep until the nightmare startled her awake. I see you're awake. Where are we? The boy looked to be in his teens and just a bit older than Priscilla. The surroundings answered her question as to where they were. A luscious green forest, the greenery trees and vines to low shrubs and bushes. Little tiny furry creatures Priscilla knew as Chara scampered around, making tiny squeaking noises in repetition. You might not want to make too many moves. Huh? What's that you say? I'm saying you may still be dehydrated. I found you on the ground, sleeping like a baby. I think you might have passed out from heat stroke. There's a canteen full of water in the back if you need it. Priscilla dug around in the back of the wagon. She spotted the canteen hanging out of an old leather sack. She picked up the old rounded bottle, weighted with water. Her tiny fingers had taken some time, but she screwed off the cap. You need help opening it? I know it can be hard to open sometimes. I'm okay, I got it, thanks. She felt the cool, refreshing liquid hit her dry mouth and down her throat with each gulp. It tasted so good. She would have felt bad drinking all of his water. Instead, she screwed the cap back on after getting a good fill. She made sure the cap was on tight before climbing up the coach's seat again. What's this place? Where are you taking me? Well, I don't want to be rude. My name is Noelle. You got a name? Priscilla Ardella, but do you mind answering my last question? Where are you taking me? This is Chara Forest, or at least that's what I've called it with all the little Chara running around. It leads into Kingdom Selah. Noelle momentarily removed one hand from the reins to scratch his nose. Kingdom Selah? Yeah. We priests were summoned by carrier pigeon. I've been summoned by the queen herself to perform a healing there. You're in luck I found you out in that desert. Praise the goddess, she preordained this meeting. Otherwise, you would have died out there. Traveling somewhere important, Priscilla Ardella? He spoke calmly and clearly, somewhat mature for his age. Something everyone would say about Priscilla. She wasn't too sure what that meant at first, but She remembered the words of her wise mentor. I'm a teacher, but I'm inept when it compared to experience. Huh? I really don't know. I just travel from day to day. I really can't tell you where that somewhere important is. Noelle snapped her from her thoughts. You look pretty young. Too young to be traveling alone out here. How old are you? Look who's talking, she thought, staring at her rescuer. She hesitated for a moment. She could barely remember the last time anyone asked her age. It had taken her some thought. It was hard to remember the anniversary of her birth. Noelle looked at her out of the corner of her eye, keeping sight of the roads ahead. She spotted little furry creatures running around with floppy ears. It wasn't too long before a flock followed. Where are those things? Those are wild chara. This must be the season for 'em. But you don't even remember how old you are? Well, I'll be 14 2 weeks from now. 12. I'm 12 years old. Really? You're pretty young then. I guess that automatically makes me the leader. What do you mean by that? Noelle looked back at Priscilla with a quick glance. You know, if I'm older than you gotta do everything I say. Priscilla wrinkled her brow a bit. What? What type of rule is that? He looked at Priscilla, then back at the row. You know, I'm your elder. Not really. You're just a little boy to me, she muttered. What was that, Pris? Oh, I didn't say anything. Where are your parents? You sure do ask a lot of questions. Where are your parents? Priscilla asked. Hey, you totally did a good job of reversing my question, but to answer your question, they're back at the church. My father's an archbishop, a speaker for our church, and my mother's a nun and a healer. Why isn't she out here then? Priscilla ran further away from the question about her parents. Because I'm in training and they wanted me to heal the queen. But you're inexperienced, yet they're letting you take up such a big task. That doesn't make any sense. Not that it's any of my concern. Okay, look, I was just sent out here. Let's leave it at that. Okay, I didn't mean to offend. You can do whatever you want. At that moment, the leadership qualities Noelle claimed left. He explained himself in a half whiny tone. And it was moments later. They arrived in a clean city opposite the cottages, greenery, and wildlife. Selah was more of a sandy city. Nearby houses and huts were made of pristine clay with rectangular, sharp corners. The horses responded to the leather straps pulling their muzzles. Noelle commanded them to move the wagon along with each tug. He made them pull the wagon with each yell. The steady clap, 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 clapping of hooves sounded on the clean stove pavement. She looked at the nice shrubbery. The houses comprised of clay seemed to have a perfectly cubed structure with sharp, perfect corners. If you were wondering, this is Kingdom Selah, one of the most beautifully built cities around. I was only 5 the last time I was here, so I don't remember it looking this beautiful. How did you remember to get out here? Priscilla asked. The grace of the goddess pointed me in the right direction, Noelle replied. Priscilla spotted a crumpled piece of paper sitting beside him. She picked it up without Noelle's knowledge and looked at the contents etched on the parchment. It was a map on creco parchment drawn in plain black ink. Yeah, right, or you had directions. Priscilla tossed the map on his lap. This whole goddess talk is ridiculous. I wish everyone would just stop, Priscilla thought to herself. They checked out some of the square cookie cutter houses and shops in passing. The only way someone could tell each shop apart were the wooden boards above the windows telling what each shop was. Apothecary was on one, pet birds on another, in which the owner surrounded himself with beautifully colored birds. The sight of them lit Priscilla's eyes up. Whoa! Noelle brought the coach to a sudden stop, allowing a shepherd boy and his flock of char to waddle across side by side in rows of twos. There were only 8 of them. The boy waved to both Priscilla and Noelle. They returned the greeting with waves of their own. After some time, they stopped in front of a large castle. It was pearly white, covered with clean, sparkling material. Priscilla and Noelle were soon greeted by guards in a deep-plated armor, a white, thick, glassy material with sharp points sticking out. Noelle stopped the wagon. Your business here? Well, I'm part of the order of priests. I was sent by my father, Lenin, to perform a healing. We never received any word about any healing from the priest. Look, friend, We traveled all this way through the deserts of Levi, from across the mountains and valleys. I wouldn't have traveled all this way unless summoned. Priscilla didn't consider herself a travel companion. Well, not to the extent that Noel put it, but she let him handle all the talking. These guards looked more intimidating than the ones in Levi. The meaner looks on their faces could only be described as intimidating. The armor seemed like they were made of money, like as if it would protect them against a battering ram, along with the black and gold shields and holstered swords. She felt her tail perk up. She heard the voice of a young girl. She stood atop the steps uh, of the castle with her arms folded. Let them through, gentlemen. Take their horses and goods under your care. She had long blonde hair with green eyes. Her gown was sapphire along with her slippers. The sleeves on her gown were enlarged. The thin, silky fabric had a slight shine from the sun gracing it. Surrounding her green eyes were dark circles, a mascara. But Lady Jessica, your mother... Don't argue. It's none of your business. Just let them through. Don't forget your place. One of the guards sneered at her warning. She didn't pay him any attention. Come, priest, this way. The princess motioned for Noel and Priscilla to follow. The guards moved over to the wagon. Priscilla moved to the back of the coach, picking up her cloak, wrapping it around her neck, leaving an inch of room for her throat. Under the cloak in the wagon, her weapons were revealed. She began to reach for them. A knock came from the front of the wagon. Hey, they gotta pull the wagon to the stables. Let's go. Just a second, Priscilla called back to Noel. She hoisted the heavy weapon, Glam, over her shoulder by the hilt leather strap. She wrapped the belt around her waist, holding her dangling daggers. As she made her way out of the back of the wagon, Noel walked around to her side. One of the reluctant guards had taken the reins for the pair of horses pulling the wagon. The young woman atop the steps beckoned for Noel and Priscilla. Come on up, you two. And who is your companion? She doesn't look like a priest. She pointed a small finger at Priscilla. I'm not really a priest. She is actually, Noel replied quickly. She's a priestess knight. The young girl turned her nose up. She was monotonous in that. Monotony held together with a serious attitude. She folded her arms. Priestess knight is a pretty generic name. Your parents weren't very creative. My name's not Priestess Knight, it's Priscilla Ardella, and I don't have any parents, Lady Jessica. Well, you have quite a weapon there, Priscilla Arcella. To be a priestess, that is, Jessica said. Hence her title, Priestess Knight. You know the title I just mentioned like a few seconds ago? Noel interjected. The girl was silent. Noel quickly tapped Priscilla on her side. He bowed to the girl. Priscilla scratched her head in confusion, staring at the kneeling Noel. Noel slapped Priscilla in her shin guard. Get down on your knees, Pris. That's the Queen of Selah. She laughed dryly. I'm flattered. You want to follow me? She disappeared into the castle without warning. Noel stood to his feet quickly. Really, Pris? You brought a weapon? You could have left that in the wagon. She didn't seem bothered by it. I mean, let's go inside. Priscilla began to run ahead. Wait, Pris. Noel stood at the foot of the steps for a moment, his thoughts weighing him down. He still was unsure about performing the healing on the Queen. He wasn't even sure what was going to happen or if his healing would deem the Queen back to health. Was this Jessica the Queen? If she was, he didn't want to keep her waiting. Priscilla called to him from atop the steps. She waved for him. Noel, come on, it's fine. I told you they don't care about me having my sword. Like diving into a river, learning to swim for the first time, Noel had taken a deep breath and started up the stairs, his pouch hanging from his waist.